Hello, English language learners. This is Miss Bauer here. I had a student request some help with comprehension, um, specifically nonfiction or expository texts. So I'm going to go through some of that with you today. It's going to be in several videos, so just make sure you finish watching all of them so that you get the whole piece and all the information. All right, so here we go. If a cat climbs across the screen while I'm talking, I apologize. All right, comprehending nonfiction texts, a brief overview. My computer's stuck. There we go. Oh, whoa. Okay, typical text structures of expository text. So there are 5 different text structures. Cause and effect, which is, I feel like if you understand what a cause is and what an effect is, you're going to understand what a cause and effect text structure is. So ideas, events in time, or facts are presented as causes of the resulting effects or facts that happen as a result of an event. So they made it sound really technical right there, but the bottom line is throughout the writing, they're going to be talking about this happened and it caused this to happen. So one event is going to trigger another event, or one thing is going to trigger something else to happen. Like, it's just you'll be able to recognize it, and we'll talk about ways that you can recognize it in the text. The next one is compare and contrast. So comparing something is how is it alike? Contrasting something is how is it different? So information is presented by detailing how 2 or more events, concepts, theories, or things are alike and or different. Simple as that. The text is probably going to be about 2 things, and they're talking about how those 2 things are alike and how they are different. Descriptive or description text. A topic is described by listing characteristics, features, attributes, and examples. How do you describe someone or something? So I'm going to use the example. Let's say you're telling your best friend about the person you have a crush on at school. How are you describing them if they've never seen them before or they don't know them? You're going to just be describing physical characteristics, personality characteristics. So that's where some of the features, attributes, examples. So it would be like going to your best friend and being like, oh yeah, like I ran into him in the hallway and he smiled at me. Like, that's an example. So it's an example of a description. So it's exactly what you think it is. The next one is problem and solution. So within the text, they present a problem. This might be a lot of like research papers maybe will start out talking about a problem and present solutions, some like scientific research papers, stuff like that. But just think about how in your own life, I know you've probably learned some problem-solving techniques for your own life. It's what is the problem? What are possible solutions, and what are the steps to those possible solutions? So that's basically what is going to be in this text. So it says a problem and 1 or more solutions to the problem is outlined. That's all it is. And last but not least is sequence. So this might be a text describing how to do something. You're going to hear a lot of words like first, next, then, now, after, before, finally. And sometimes you will come across texts that use none of those indicator words, but you can still kind of catch on just based on the fact that it's steps in a sequence. So here are some of those signal words that I talked about. So some of these are going to overlap. So look at the first word for cause and effect. It is the word because. The first word for problem and solution is the word because. But there are some other factors that we can look at to decide whether it's cause and effect or problem and solution. Those two are maybe a little tricky because they are very similar, just in how they're set up. But I think for the most part, you'll be able to tell the difference if there's a problem. And you know what, there might be some texts that you could argue qualify as both cause and effect and problem and solution, but we're not going to get into that. The texts that we're going to talk about are going to be very clear cut. You're going to know they're cause and effect or problem and solution or whatever. So just take a quick look here, and I will share this little chart for you as well. All right, so let's take a look at a cause and effect text. So I have a little article here on sea turtles. The sea turtle will choose a dry spot on the beach to dig her hole. In this hole, she will lay her eggs. This is because she wants to keep them safe from crabs and birds. A female sea turtle usually lays between 80 to 120 eggs. The eggs are strong. This means they do not break when they are dropped in the nest. The eggs hatch after about 60 days. The baby turtles make their way to the water. If the babies hatch at night, most will make it safely to the water. If the babies hatch during the day, most will be eaten by crabs and birds. Okay, so we have some of those signal words here. Let's look at because. So they say, in this hole she will lay her eggs. So then it says this is because. So we need to look at this is referring to her laying her eggs in the hole. Okay, that's what this is referring to. Sometimes you have to be careful because it would be way easier for them to say, she will lay her eggs in the hole because she wants to keep. That would be really simple for us to understand. But when we have it separated out like this, just check to see what they mean by this. So in this case, the word this is referring to the female sea turtle laying her eggs in the hole. And so the effect, or the cause is she lays her eggs in a hole. The effect, eggs stay safe from crabs and birds. So we come down here. Again, we have this. So the eggs are strong. This means. So rather than just saying the eggs are strong so that they do not break when they are dropped, they separated it out. But it's essentially the same thing. This is referring to the eggs being strong. So the cause, the eggs are strong, leads to the effect, the eggs do not break. Down here, we have two of the same type of signal word or words. So we have if. We have two sentences that start with if. If the babies hatch at night, most will make it safely to water. So if we go back to our chart, hopefully, maybe, it's taking me all the way back. Okay, so if we go back to our chart for cause and effect, we go down and we have this if then. So our if then signal word, we have an if here, but there's no then. It doesn't matter. There is a then there, but it's implied. So we have to read the then into it without actually having it there. A lot of writers will choose to do this, and I probably do it all the time in my writing. So if the babies hatch at night, then most will make it safely to water. So we have to imply the word then there. So cause, babies hatch at night. Effect, babies make it safely to water. And then this next one is the exact same way. It's an if, then, but the then is implied. If the babies hatch during the day, then most will be eaten by crabs and birds. Babies hatch during the day, babies will be eaten by crabs and birds. I know, it's so sad. Okay, so that's our cause and effect, and those are some of our signal words. All right, next one, compare and contrast. So this is a writing about two different things that they're going to point out the similarities. They're going to point out the things that are alike between the two things and the things that are different. And there are signal words here that are very obvious. So when you're talking about things being alike, you're going to use words like same, both. We have that two times here. Three times we have the word both. And then some of the words that we use to contrast or talk about things that are different are unlike and on the other hand. So it would be like, winter is cold. On the other hand, summer is hot. So like opposite things. And I guess you could probably consider that like an idiom. Just an old kind of turn of phrase that we use in English quite often. So let's go ahead and read this. Dolphins and whales. Bottlenose dolphins and orcas, or killer whales, belong to the same family and are both marine mammals. They both have blowholes located on the tops of their heads which allow them to breathe. Both tend to live and hunt in groups. They are carnivorous and feed on fish and squid. They help one another target schools of fish in order to hunt their prey by traveling in pods. They also have a greater chance of surviving attacks from predators. Orcas can be found in almost all oceans, mostly in the Arctic and Antarctic oceans. Their coloring helps them stay camouflaged as well. They have white, light undersides which blend into the brightness of the water's surface from below. Their backs are black, which tend to blend in with the dark look of the water's surface from above. Killer whales can grow up to 25 feet in length and weigh up to 19,000 pounds. Whales communicate with each other by making high-pitched click and whistle sounds. Unlike the whale, bottlenose dolphins are gray in color. They can be found in tropical and temperate shallow waters. A full-grown male dolphin can be 10 feet in length and weigh up to 650 pounds. Both dolphins and orcas face threats to their survival. The dolphin's greatest threat is due to climate change. As ocean water temperatures rise, the prey of dolphins start to look for deeper, cooler waters. On the other hand, whales' biggest threat to survival is pollution. Many whales face contamination, which leads to low rates of birth and disease. Okay, so what two concepts are we talking about? It's right here in the title. So it's not always going to be in the title, but this is pretty obvious right here. So it won't always be in the title, but you know what? It's going to always be in the first sentence or two, which is going to be like your main idea sentence. So let's look. Concept: bottlenose dolphins and orcas or killer whales. Those are our two concepts that we are comparing and contrasting. So then we're going to look through at similarities because that looks to be what they start off with our words same and both. So their similarities. Marine mammals, they're both marine mammals. They both live and hunt in groups. They're both carnivorous, which means that they eat meat, strictly meat, and they both face threats. Okay, so let's look at differences. Their differences are the way that they're colored. So the whales are black and white and the dolphins are gray. Another way that they are different is their size. The whales are 25 feet in length and the dolphins are 10 feet. And they also talked about weight there too, but I just touched on length. And the climate that they live in, is another difference. So it says that whales, whales can be found almost anywhere, but they also particularly live in Arctic and Antarctic areas, whereas dolphins are pretty much tropical climates. And their threats are different. They're both threatened, which we see over here in similarities, but they're threatened by different things. So I believe it was the whales are threatened by pollution and contaminated oceans, whereas dolphins are threatened by climate change. So that's how we can kind of pull out some of these comparisons and contrasts in the two different things, and that's how we identify that. So we will move on to the next video.